Hello, everybody, and welcome to this evening, maybe morning where you are, webinar, which will be about the layer effects only. So we really get to know everything what there is to know about layer effects. I'm Jesper, I'm from Astera. And of course, today we are talking about the layer effects. We are going through all the effects that actually are in the layer effects as well. And we will at the end try to create some scenarios also so you can see how easy and fast it may be. Just before we get started here, we have a new app version released actually last Wednesday or this last Wednesday, the 11.15. So if you're sitting with your tablet, your smartphone, you can actually go in and update the app or download it if you don't have it yet. Another thing, if you don't see the layer effects and you want to follow with on your smartphone, then you have the old app version. So please make sure just to download or install the app version 11.15. Yes. The layer effects came out in the late 2019. So a lot of you guys probably already work with it, or already have seen it, but might not know how it really works. Good. During the webinar, you are more than welcome in the right side just to type in the chat and ask all the questions you might have. I have some colleagues waiting for you, being ready to answer all the questions that comes. Let's get this started. So what you see in the presentation, the layer effects means that it will give you full control over your pixels. And it took round about 1 year to prepare or make the layer effects until it was released. You will understand when we are done here why it actually gives you control over your pixels on your tubes. So to get started here, we would need the next slide, please. Perfect. I am very sure everyone knows this setup. You have your tablet and you have your Astera box right here. These are, of course, paired by Bluetooth. Then you have at the other end your lights, which you are controlling with your app, of course. Everyone might know the first few steps here. There's just some very important things to know during setup to make the setup perfect and work properly. So when we go to the next slide here, we will, of course, make sure that our lights has the latest firmware. Can be that some of you maybe have a very, very old firmware. It can be that your auto update has been turned off. Then it is possible that you don't have the new firmware in the lights. Doing this or checking this is going, as you see on the right side on the screen, going to the main menu, the 3 lines just up in the right corner. So, gotta close this here, not to confuse you all. Down at almost the bottom, you will see app settings. When we push this one, we will recognize or see the top bar up here called Lights Background Update. Yeah. You have here, okay, my lights are up to date. I can only be happy about that, for sure. It will also tell you if it's out of date. Then you can choose to press the Titan bar or the Titan tab, and you will actually be uploading the firmware to the lights, and then you will have to turn the lights off and then on to reboot, and then it will install the firmware. It will also ask you here on the tab if you want to reboot the light, and it will do it automatically just by tapping this one time. Perfect. A very important thing in this process is also, I always like to have my lights reset just to be beginning or starting from point 0. And I went through this also before, but it's just an important step. You have 4 ways to reset your lights, especially here on the Titans. You can reset the lights by tapping the display or going in there, finding the factory reset, and confirm by clicking the enter button. You can also do it if you have some smaller lights, holding down the power on off button for approximately 5 seconds, then you will also reset your lights. Another way of doing it is actually seeing here on the list of connected lights. I will just unmark here fast. I have the 2 lights connected right now. Then we mark here, and the magic wand will appear. I find this as the easiest way to do it. By pressing the magic wand there, we will see reset lights, which is right there. This we want to do. Then we confirm by clicking OK. When lighting up red, or the color turns in red, we know the lights has been reset. Good. I will just turn down the brightness here because you have to see everything what is happening. Wait, just like this, and then we do like this. Perfect. Another way to do it also depends on what you feel more comfortable with, is going once again to the main menu here, just closing this tab here, and going to the menu called Actions for all lights. When we go here, you will see in the middle the reset lights on pair CRMX, also highlighted on the screen right now. Oh, sorry. Yeah, like this. You will see the lights start flickering. So it means that you can confirm the lights to be reset by clicking the Enter button. I'm just going to try it here fast. So you can see, and then it flashes, and then you have been resetting the light. You can also use the little IR remote control by pushing the power on button. Simply just point it, it flashes, and we have reset the light. I will once again just dim down this very fast. Just like this. Perfect. A next very, very important thing is grouping the lights. I'm also very sure that all of you know there's different ways of grouping. We want to go here in the app, just tapping the next tab down here in the bottom. Can be you have it up in the top. And we want to press the plus button up in the right corner to create a new set. What we want to do now is creating a flow set, because the layer effects is actually having an effect running over several tubes. So we want to press this flow set right here. This allows us to create or to choose how many positions we have. Positions also means how many lights you have. You can also create or add more lights to one position. Let's say you have them aligned like this. Then you can put 3 lights, 2 lights in one position, 10 lights, depending on what kind of setup you are doing. In this case, and my setup right here, I have 2 lights, so it makes sense that I choose the 2 positions. Before I do this, I just rename this here fast and call it Astera layer number 10, for instance. When pushing the big arrow, the whole tab will be blue, and we will be able to add the lights to the positions what we have. This will be my position 1. This will be my position 2. If you would have 100 lights, you can add up to 128 positions. If you would have tubes mounted on one long row, then you can actually just add lights to these 120 positions, depending again on the setup what you have. I want to add this to this specific set just by pressing the Enter button. It flashes and it will appear on the list here. If you already hanged up the tubes, maybe you can't reach them, and instead of getting a ladder, we will go to position 2. And by clicking this tab highlighting just now, will allow us to choose lights from the list not paired to this flow set yet. So I just want to highlight, can be you have a lot of lights. This is the right light I want to this position. Basically just tapping the name here, the bar will highlight blue. Pressing the OK will add the light to position 2. Perfect. So to finish the flow set, we will push the arrow up in the left on the left side here, like this, and we have it created. Good. I highlighted because we would need to start trying to play with this very, very soon. Good. Before we go on, I want actually the direction of the tubes are predefined. So I have my display on this side, and of course I want a pixel to run through. So on this, with this tube, I also have it pointing, the display pointing in this direction. This is something you also would need to play with yourself, because turning them like this, it will maybe not create the effect you want. So just make sure, having a pixel run through or an effect, you would need to turn them the same way. So far, so good. Let's move on. Now we want to create just a new effect tab so we can start editing, try playing from the very beginning. You have, or see at my screen at least, the tab in the middle right there. We want to push to come to the effect program page or site. By sliding here, probably most of you know this one has been there since we built the app. But we want to create a new effect. We do it by pressing the plus button up in the right corner here. Creating some new is always the plus button. That's easy. We just choose the static red program like this. And you can choose the position where you want. Oh, sorry for that. Just have to open the app here again. Good. So we have been creating the new program right there. Now we want to edit this effect, and that we do in the editor, which is on the right side tab here from the effect page. Just like this. Good. You see here under the name, you can scroll the effects. We, of course, want to go to the layered effects. So now we are ready to actually create some layer effects with this. A little reminder, or a little tip, pressing the red bar will allow you to edit this specific layer. It's not written anywhere, I'm just telling you. Could be a little bit confusing, so we just tap this red bar. Good. Now we have opened the editor of this specific layer. And also what you see in the presentation, the first effect what we come through is the chase. Effect parameters, what you see here, will change from effect to effect and will not always be the same, but the principle is the same. You have the brightness, and will always have, just here up in the top. You will see it adjusts. And you will have the fade depending on, we will also come to this, I will just have to add a color here. You will see it changing between red and green. Sorry guys, I just need to adjust the brightness here first. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to see the colors on this camera. Good. Going back to the editor and the effect parameters. So the fade here would actually make the colors fade even more. You probably also see it here on the screen. And the speed, we can also change of this color effect here, just like this. I will say it maybe 20 times during the presentation. You would really need to play with this also to understand how the different things reacts, what it does in the given situation, also depending on the effect you want. Good. Now we have the chase here. And I would like the next slide, please. Good. This is the effect parameters I actually just told about. So I would like the next slide. Good. You see two buttons under the layer bar, actually. The one called FX, and you have a little button with two arrows, or arrows pointing in each direction. Pushing this one will allow us to edit the layer geometry. The layer geometry will always be the same no matter which effect you have. This is actually your way, or the way, to change and play with your pixels and the bars right up here. So coming to the next, you will see the start position. Start position, just let me allow to move this slider a little bit right there. So since this is position 1, this will always by default be the start position. We can change this start position by moving the slider, the start here, and we can also move it even further, like this, and at some point it will come a little bit here at the other end. But the point is that you can choose your start position. Can be that you maybe want to make the length a little bit shorter and then have this effect in the middle instead. Yeah. When taking the next slide, we will talk about the length. The length, you can decide actually how small you want to make it, how big, and so on. You can also double tap each slider to be able to be more accurate in the percentage. Can be 25%. Then you will have the length here being 25% over the whole length of tubes. So this is also calculated. Let's say you have 100 tubes, then it will also calculate that 25% of the whole length will be 25%. Good. Coming to choose directions, we have created this effect, very simple, very easy, but you have the small arrows just coming under the speed. The speed will of course be activated when we start to, for instance, pushing this to the right direction, and you will have a running effect here. This we can of course change by changing the speed, just as simple like this. You can choose to stop it or actually do it in the other direction, just like this. Another thing what we can do, you see the two arrows going against each other, will allow us to make an effect. Just have to be aware, we have the start position at 25%. That's why it will go like this. When we put it to 0 here, it will go, so wait a second. Like this, and then we do like this. Speed a little bit down maybe. The length. You will actually just have a bouncing pixel just like this. Good. I will also have an example for you when we come to the end, when we have been going through all the effects. The earlier webinar today, somebody asked to create the Knight Rider. I was a little bit too young to understand what that was, so my colleague explained it very nicely to me. So bear with me if I'm a little bit too young for all these old stories. Good. Let's move on to the 1 pixel. I think it says it all. We can create one tube to react just as 1 pixel. And I would, of course, need just here, just removing this color, just like this. Good. So instead of having the pixels separate, you can choose with this one button right here. Sorry, just going back to the geometry. The 1 pixel you can choose to have on. So 1 tube, also said in the description, acts as 1 pixel. A lot of people ask for this. That's why we have this within the layer effects as well. Good. Let me turn this off, otherwise I will not be able to show what I want to do now. Let's have this running just as we want to, just like this. The next is the repeater. So when we, for instance, make the length a little bit shorter, like we do here, then we can repeat these amount of pixels by pressing the repeater just like this. And you will see just adding more and more and more. This is what it does. It can be helpful in a given situation, depending on what kind of effect you want to make. And this effect, we can also create loops. So let's say we save this specific effect and we click on the effect program out on the effect page. When it activates, we can say we want it to run a loop of 5 times. Creating a loop will also make it stop on the start position what you have been making there. So when it has been running 5 times, it will stop at the start position and no longer be running, just like this. You can also remove the repeater so you see how it goes, like this. And we again do, let's say, 6 loops. And there you go, there it stops. The start position could also be over here in the middle. And when activating the loop once again, you will see the start position has changed because we, of course, intentionally wanted this. Right there. Perfect. Depending again on which kind of effect in the given situation you want to create, just gives you a lot of possibilities. Just want to make the length a little bit wider, bigger, and have it like this. Because the next is the edge fade and the edge you can create. You see just under the repeat, you have very sharp edges. We can create, so this side will be more fading out, so to speak, and then change the edge fade. I will just make this a little bit bigger so you can see it a little bit better. Just like this. So here you have a sharp edge, and here it's fading out. You can, of course, change the side if you need it in the other side here, or you can make both sides fading out, and of course, adjusting the edge fade. Now it's, of course, nothing, and here we have the possibility just to make it look more smooth. Good. A lot of you probably also know when you have a car in a studio, you want it to look like it's driving, but it's not. We all know this trick. Then we want to create something like a post delay or add a post delay. So when actually doing, I just remove the edge fade here first. And the loop, of course, we have to, otherwise it will not run. We can do like this. Post delay also meaning that you create a virtual extension of the tubes. So you can create pretty long here, and then it will take some time, and it will come through the other end once again. Creating a driving car, if we, for instance, change the color right here, going back, make it go a little bit faster. Like this. Or you can, of course, remove it so it just runs through right away. Also, depending on how fast the car would drive, I guess. This is something you also need to play with to create this virtual extension of the tubes. Also to have the understanding how it reacts. How does this work? Good. So as said, the layer geometry, no matter. We have been touching the colors a little bit, which you see also under the bar. This one, which is moving, you see the colors and the little plus. Here we can actually add more colors. Let's say we want the green one. We can add one more. In the chase, you can add up to 8 colors. It's not every color you can add up to the maximum of 8. It depends on the effect, but you will also see it when we go through the effects a little bit more detailed. So here it will actually just fade between these colors I have been choosing by my own. Good. By removing colors, you simply just push the little minus, which is highlighted there, and we simply just remove it, or we add. So simple and easy is that. When I have created this effect, I like it. Look at all tools. I will change the name here as layer effect number 3, for instance. Maybe, I think you all know it as well, but the little save desk icon up in the right corner, very important. If you would change effect, you would lose the settings or the setup you have been making. Nobody wants this. And now we have created an effect tab, which allows us fast to change to this specific effect. Good. So we just make this big here again, and I will stop it from moving. Good. It is called layer effects, and this is very important that you also can add more layers to the same here. We can actually push the little tab or the bar where you see the different effects on the top here. When we push this, we close the editing program, editing site, call it what you want. And down here, we see the add layer. You can also, of course, add the layer, even though if you are in the editing page, just see a little bit more further below. Good. Now we can also start to move this like this. And we want maybe to have a red coming from the right side, or maybe making the left here a little bit smaller, move it to the middle, like this. And we can add a new layer, go to the editing, and then here, choose the pink. I like pink. And making it a bit smaller coming from the left side. This can also be done with effects, doesn't really matter. Good. I'm not quite sure if everybody knows this or have knowledge about it. There is something called HTP, highest, what was the name? That just lost. I will remember it soon. HTP for the lighting operators for sure knows this.
Highest takes precedence.
Highest what?
Takes precedence.
Right, good. I just had a little help from the sideline here. So highest takes precedence. It means that even though if you have different layers, let me give you a very, very good example here. Good. This is very common when operating with a lighting desk. I will just first go to this one, remove the green, having the red there, going to the next layer, making it like this. And this one I want to have just like this. Perfect. So highest takes precedence means HTP is looking at each color channel of each pixel. So it means we have two red colors here. The upper one is brightness, let's say 70%, something like this. And the lower one has a brightness of, for instance, 10%. So the highest take precedence means that the one who has the 70% brightness will be the one winning. So the one with 10%, even though if it's overlapping, this area will still be 70%. So what happens if we then change this color to, for instance, a green? We want to change the brightness a little bit here. Good. Maybe making them overlap a bit more. Just like that. Like this. Perfect. You will see the color changes here in the middle. Yeah. So this highest takes precedence, also what we built the layer effects on, doesn't mean that it won't or it will actually mix the colors. So this is, of course, only when you have the same color. This is what actually highest takes precedence means. The brightness, the highest brightness will win over the lower one. But having two different colors, it will mix the colors. I had the question earlier today, if the colors are mixing while having different layers on top of each other. Yes, it does mix the colors. Good. Now we have that in place. So this was actually about adding layers, and you can add up to 8 layers in one effect tab or group. Moving on to the next slide. Good. Going here to the top one. And then again, we have, just want to make this big for you guys. You see all the effects just under the effect parameters. So you see the police car, you see the camera. Here you have the police car, like this. Now you will see something start blinking here behind me. And still here at the effect parameters, you will see some things have changed from the chase effect. Here we want to maybe add a blue just to make it look like more police, depending on the country, of course. But here in Europe, we do have it also like this. Now we can change or adjust the speed. You will also see it actually adjust right there. Or we can go down here in the pattern, which is highlighted right now. And you will find 28 different patterns from all over the world. When we change this, you will also see that the blinking or flashing is actually changing. Depending on the country and the effect of the police car blinking way, you can simply just change the patterns right here. Good. So we just had this like that. Oh, the previous slide, please. Good. At the bottom of the presentation, you see face, and you will also see the face here, which is not active right now. There are only 4 police blinking patterns, or call it what you want. Is the 25, 26, 27, and 8, the alternating blinking effects. When you push one of those 4, the face will actually be active. I really hope you can see what is happening when moving the face slider here, just like that, just to be able to create something more specific to the job what you are making. Yes. Just go play with it. You will have the feeling also when you go through this all by yourself. Moving on. Everyone also probably knows the traditional fluorescent tube, and we have it predefined here. And you will, of course, also be able to create some settings or a setup which makes it more realistic to the given situation you are in. Now you see them blinking maybe once in a while. This is predefined, but you can, of course, adjust this. Let's take the first here, which is the startup. The startup actually controls how long it should be able to start up. Can be an old fluorescent tube, then you will be able to create this scenario, or maybe not so long startup here. By adding more, you will see it takes a bit longer for them to turn on. And then we can see the flicker slider just down from the startup there. We will be able to adjust the flicker while they are turned on. So moving the slider to maximum, they will be super much out of control, old light, also depending on what you want to create right here. Good. So let's move on to the sync. If you have a large number of tubes, can be that you want the fluorescent effect to be in sync, so every tube are doing the same, or you can choose to have the sync off, so they are doing something very different to each other, the blinking way, of course. Yes. I guess everybody also understands the concept here. Of course, the parameters, the geometry can also be changed, so you can also have the fluorescent as a moving effect. This happens in the geometry where you also set this up. Going to the next effect is the paparazzi effect. Paparazzi, I always remember the blitz as very cold white. Now you see the tubes behind me blinking just like that, a little bit. Yeah, it looks nice. Here we can, of course, also change the brightness to this specific effect. We can change the speed. Will something look like this? And a very important feature in this effect is the photographer count. We can actually make it look like if there should be 10 photographers, and you will also see the tubes here changing and blinking and making the pixels smaller just to make it more, what do you say, chaotic. More blitzers. Actually, you can add up to 32 photographers here. Just like this. Getting really crazy, but if you have a lot of tubes, it could also be super funny. That you will also have to experience by yourself. Good. Just taking this down to 1. The next effect, what we will go through here, is the welding effect, like a burning arch. Here you will see it's also predefined like this. You can, of course, change the speed of the flickering here. And you can, of course, also change the color if you want something flickering with another color, just like this. Yes. Good. Everyone probably also knows the fire effect from the, we have this effect already pre-programmed on the effect page. Here you will also be able to change the colors, just like a fire effect here. This is one of the effects that are limited with to 2 colors, where we can do like this, and we can of course arrange the speed like this. Very simple. You can adjust it anytime, whenever you want. Bringing us to the next effect will be random colors, this one. So we have been predefining the colors, which should be random, just like this. And we can, of course, also adjust the speed to how fast it should be changing. We also have the possibility to crossfade them, so they are going or changing a bit more smooth, just like that. I don't want to rush it, but we have to change the segment count, which is at the very bottom right there. So we can make it look a little bit different, just adding more segments. Then you can sync the segments as well, just like that. So they will be changing at the same time, what you see here. And if you want it to be a little bit more random, simply just turn off the sync segments, just like that. We have predefined the colors, but we have also been giving you the possibility, of course, to use your own color palette, which will be active when pushing the on button on the use palette right there. So now we will also be able to add colors just like this, and we can keep at up to 8 colors will be actually maximum in this effect right here. Yeah, I also think this makes very, very good sense for you guys. Perfect. Going to the next effect here, which is fireworks. Here we can also choose the segment count. Now the whole fireworks effect are running over the whole line of tubes, what we have been creating here. Of course, the speed is also adjustable, and we can adjust the burn duration. So actually changing the burn duration, you will see here, just a second, just like that. It will go out very fast, or we can choose to extend the explosion so it looks very beautiful, also depending on the situation you are doing or are in. Here, down in the bottom, we will have the possibility to add the segments, also to make it look like more fireworks at the same time. Just a very good possibility to adjust this right here. Again, like the random colors, you will also be able to use your own colors if you are not happy with the ones we have predefined. Then simply just add or remove and add the new colors, what you want here for the new fireworks effect. Yes, just like that. I also do hope that this makes a lot of good sense for you, and also seeing that the effect parameters are changing from effect to effect. Going to the next here will be the television. Television would probably, not with all these colors, but we can just do like this here, changing this to maybe a light blue like that, something like this, and maybe something like this here. Good. A little bit more. So going back to the FX just up in the left corner top there, you will be able to, of course, change the speed. You will see it like that. Just make it a little bit more so it looks, it's more the flickering effect on the face, also depending what you want to do. And you can change the color change speed, so it will change between different colors we have been predefined up in the top here. Also with this effect, you can of course add up to 8 colors. Also, when you start to play more around with this layer effects, you will also realize which kind of effects maybe you can be creative depending on the idea you have in your head. Then you can come around to create the effect in many, many ways, maybe using the effects down here below. Good. Going to the gradient also makes pretty much sense. Just fading in the colors to each other or fading in each other, mixing and creating maybe a running, or you can stop it just hitting the stop button or making go in the other direction. Here you will also be able to add up to 8 colors, also depending on which kind of effect you want to create. The speed is also adjustable, just like a lot of other effects. We have come to the last effect, which is called, we are calling the zebra. You will see here that the brightness is the only thing you can actually adjust in the effect parameters. Here is it about actually adding colors like this. And then you will have a zebra effect. Again, going to the geometry, you can also make this effect running, going back and forth. You can, of course, make it smaller when we go here. Just simply move it here, and we can move it to the middle, or we can move it to the other side. Good. What you maybe already have been understood is that this bar, what is moving at the moment, is symbolizing the tube line, what you have created. So it also helps you to create a good overview. Okay, is the effect on the left side, right side, middle, and so on. Good. Let's try to make some use cases. I have brought some examples with me. So by saving this, I think we have been creating something very zebra nice. We want to create a new effect up in the right corner, right there. Static red program would be the right one to choose. And simply just choose where you want it to be placed, just pressing the plus button. Then we will go to the editing tile here, or the editing page. And of course, we want to choose the layer effects right there. Perfect. A little tip, when you open the editor here, going to the geometry, you can of course choose the start, and you can choose the length. I think I maybe explained it in the presentation, but holding, actually moving here on the left side, you have the whole bar, the red bar. When you are holding down on the right side, you will be able to actually change the length. And by holding your finger on the left side, I hope you can maybe follow a little bit here, holding your finger on the left side of this red bar, you will be able to move it. So actually, there is two ways of doing this. Right side is changing the length. Pushing on the left side, holding down and moving is changing the start position, just like that. I hope you can see something, and I hope it really makes sense, just like this. Can be a little tip. Good. Let us create the first scenario here. We talked already about a driving car. Once this set is created, I also would like to have the right color, so I simply just add this one color. This makes, of course, a lot more sense. Want to go to the geometry because I want it to be moving as well. Pushing this one can also be in the other direction depending on how the car is placed. And we want the speed to be a bit faster, just like that. Good. Now it looks like the car is driving very, very, very fast. Or it would look like in the camera at least. So we want to add some post delay. This is probably how normal people would drive. So adding the post delay will create this. If it should be looking like it's driving faster, simply just adjust the speed or adjusting the post delay. It's a good mix of having something looking like a driving car when you have the tubes on the side. Car in the middle, then you have it right there. Actually, I want to create another effect right here, but in the same effect program. So I want to add a new layer. Just not to confuse you too much, I want to close this editing tile here. Then you see on the right side, this little button here is moving. Here you can actually turn on and off the layers, deactivate or activate. In this case, because I want to just focus on the next layer I'm creating, I'm deactivating this layer. Opening the editor here will be my next thing to create the fluorescent. I like a nice warm white color, just like that. Going back to the effects, because I want and I like old fluorescent tubes, or it at least has to take a long time to make the startup. And I also would like it to flicker a bit more once it's turned on. That was actually very fast to create the fluorescent. I hope I'm not reacting or doing this too fast. I also want you guys to see how it's done, where to push, and all these kind of things. Good. I want to add a new layer like this. What you will see, as I told you before, here the layers are actually mixing very good because it's different colors. I want the fluorescent to be deactivated and open the editor in the new layer, what I have been creating right here. I also do like the paparazzi effect. So we want to have this on a very cold white to symbolize a more blitzing or blitz effect from a camera. And I do like when I have a lot of photographers just blitzing me. So we are adding 16 just this time, making go a little bit faster. And then we close this. Now you have the three layers aligned just under each other. So you will actually be able to also see, let's say we make this a bit smaller here, and we want the fluorescent in the right side, making the top one a little bit smaller, and the photographer part making small, and we want it to be in the part where nothing is yet. So when turning on the layers here once again, we will have separate parts or separate, you know what I mean, I hope, where the effect is running. But since we had the chase effect, which is the top part, will still be actually running through the whole tube. We could also stop it, and you could add more colors, which we can try do here. Going to the geometry, we want to stop this, start position what we have set just on top, adding a color, and here we want just an effect to change some colors. It's highly recommended, guys. You really do have to play with this. I don't think you can expect just to come out on a gig and be able to be boom, 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 then it's done. I also spent a lot of hours learning and doing the layer effects. So just if you have a big complicated effect gig or job production, make sure that you at least play a little bit to understand where the different tabs and so on is. It makes it a lot faster also for you, and a big help at the end. Looking at these three layers here makes a very good overview, just like that. And we can of course still turn them off just as we want to. Turning off the fluorescent and turning it on will activate once again. Good. I'm very happy about this kind of effects, what I have been making. Maybe I use them often for future productions, and so I of course want to save this effect, so I always have it by hand when I should be using it. So we can call it, let's say, Astera webinar layer. Yes. And again, don't forget to push the save desk button right up in the corner like this. So now we can actually shift or change between these effects. Now I have the nice zebra, what we made the last time, and can change to the Astera webinar layer and have it running just in a few seconds. Perfect. I think we in the webinar this morning or this night, depending of course where you come from, asked us to make the Night Rider. The Night Rider, what I told you about, I was a bit too young to maybe know what this was. We will go here, create a new program, editor, choose the layer. Now it goes fast. Open the editor right there. And we want to change this length like this. And here, going to the geometry, choosing this one. like this. Could maybe go a little bit faster, then you basically just adjust the speed and you have created, 5 seconds maybe, created the Knight Rider effect. If you want the edges to be a bit more round or fading out, we just simply add this curve down there and add some more, just like that, maybe making it a bit bigger so we also have some good effect right there. I don't know how often people want to use this. Can be, then we simply just call it Knight Rider, because this is for sure not the last time I'm gonna use this. I told you a little bit about activate and deactivate layers. Can be a good idea when you go, sorry for that, just to the Astera webinar layer here, activated, we have it here. Going to the editor and then simply just make them on, off. That's it. Simple as it can be. The layer effects are actually saved inside the tubes, which means I have these 2 tubes. I maybe want to add a 3rd tube because it's maybe suddenly needed. Then the tubes or the layer can be out of sync, which means if we would have a chasing effect here, this one or the 3rd tube would probably look different, or it doesn't follow the whole effect. What you can do in this case is actually pressing the 2 arrows. I will just show you, right? It's highlighted up in the right corner now. When pressing this, you will synchronize the layer again, and they will become in sync, and then it will work properly. This is a fast way just to sync them if you feel, oh, something is really not right. Maybe you have been turning a tube the wrong side, so can also be, but then check if it also should be out of sync. I just want to mention it, just that you don't think it doesn't work, because it has to broadcast, and this is the way to sync it once again. Good. I mentioned before we have a new app version out since Wednesday. And as you see on the presentation, we have arrange and edit your page view. For me, I think it's the greatest thing have been coming, arranging tiles especially. We have all the pages here, as you see. Slide through. Slide is becoming a little bit, I'm losing the overview. I can press the little pencil up in the right corner right there, and it gives me some opportunities. So I will choose, for instance, insert page to the left. Then I will have a complete empty page. It can be you will have some static colors only at one page, and all the layer effects or some effects you are creating you want on another page. Let's say you are using some static colors very, very often. You can have or arrange these at one and the same page. I just created here these layer effects right here, but I want maybe to change. So I press the pencil in the right corner once again, and down in the bottom, you will see arrange tiles. Holding down one of the tiles, you will see I will be able to move it just like that. And then we want to find the empty page. For instance, not that one, not that one. Okay, ideally I would probably have inserted the page to the left just from the layer effect tiles. It would have been easier, but this is how it's done. And suddenly I can create a much better overview. I have taken backup and restore with me here as well today, because due to the new app update, very important is actually that you have to make a factory reset to apply these new effects, what we have here, right there. These will be actually standard in the new update, and requires actually to make the factory reset. And if you have been doing already a lot of effects, you would probably be very sad to lose all these effects, because you will do when making the factory reset. Let's go to the main menu up here, going to the app settings, and in the middle of everything, you will see backup and restore right there. I have been doing a lot of backups recently, but pressing the plus button up in the right corner will allow you to name, let's say, I want it to be Astera webinar V12. Okay. Scroll down to the bottom and I have it laying right there. But to be able maybe to, you can actually, the backups are not deleted when you are doing the factory reset. But if you want to make sure, you simply just push the sharing button up in the right corner like this, share it to your email, and then you can open the mail on your smartphone, phone, simply just push the file and it will reinstall the effects what you had before in the app. Good. Perfect. As I told you, the new app version, just wanted to tell about the backup and restore before I said that you needed to do a factory reset. So I really do not hope you made the factory reset before you made the backup and restore if you wanted to keep your effects, what you maybe have been spending a lot of time creating. On Wednesday, we will have a webinar exclusively and only for the new version or the new update for the app, which contains a very new feature called scenes. A very big thing for us also updating this. The example programs for the layer effects will be, I have a lot of pages, will be this one right here. So we have already predefined some of the layer effects for you. Simply maybe just push it here and you will have this kind of police. The police EU will be doing like this. And you will still be able to edit these specific effects, of course. Simply just push them, maybe the process here going like that. Also the fireworks, you can also see how that works, just like that. So if you wanted to be a little bit more speedy, you can still edit the segments or you can edit the burn duration, of course. I wrote it just with big, the factory reset. You have to do it to become these effects here, what you are seeing currently on the screen. But please don't forget the backup and restore if you really want to keep the effects what you had before as well. Good. I think actually, guys, we have been reaching the end, I believe. So means we also have to change to the very last slider, which is the most beautiful of all, if you ask me. Yeah, he's laughing. Good. To inform you, the webinar is being recorded or has been recorded, so we will actually upload it to our website at astera-led.com. At the main or at the menu up in the top, find it in the Academy menu tab. If you maybe missed out or wanted to ask some questions, but you didn't, you are more than welcome to send me an email and I will, of course, answer your questions as fast and as good as I can. Another info is that we have a Facebook page with a lot of Astera users called Astera Users Group Official. In there, all us from Astera is also with, and it's actually a very nice community. I highly recommend you to apply for this Facebook site because everyone is very helpful with each other, answering questions, all this kind of stuff. A very, very great community. Perfect. So I think there's only a few things left to say. Guys, stay healthy, stay safe due to the situation and the days. Thank you for watching. See you next time.